Hello and welcome back, everyone. So this is the Nearpod questionnaire that I asked you to fill out. I wanted to go ahead and show this to you to show that number one, I do take into consideration the suggestions that you were giving me. I see there was a new entry just from when I last updated this information, and it goes in and just kind of gives me some feedback. I do pay attention to these. I do read them. There are some things that unfortunately are just kind of outside of my control. I looked here. Somebody by making this class better, I use Chromebooks, or I don't know if you mean that Chromebooks are provided, but also that's something that I have no control over. That's totally up to the school as to what happens there. Got some people who really like this. No homework. That I can tell you is not going to happen. It's just you are going to get homework in this class. Just don't make the Nearpod so long. I'm trying to keep this Nearpod certainly less than 15 minutes, trying to get it in under 10. Make it less self-paced. Now this is going to be an area where I can't keep everybody happy, and some of it is just going to be up to how I do things versus necessarily your style. I like doing the self-paced in a remote setting because some people can finish early if they catch on to everything, and some people it may take a little bit more time. In a typical classroom setting, I don't do quite as much of a self-pace, but we are going to kind of go back and forth a little bit. There are going to be some things that I control a little bit more. Nearpod has a feature where I can control the pace better, and so it wouldn't be self-paced, but that's also something that I'm learning. The big one that I want to talk about today, this was a good piece of advice because it's clear-cut. It lets me know what I can do to improve. Not saying that these other suggestions aren't good either. No homework could maybe have been reworded into not necessarily this style of homework or something. If you felt that I was giving busy work, Mr. Andrews, do we have to do so much of this stuff? Could we cut it down? This is very straightforward. It just tells me explain the assignments that's given, because I know on some of the prior ones, I've been a little bit vague, but some of that's also meant for your exploration. So I do want to just kind of go into your next assignment, the ones that we're going to be working with today. So you're going to be writing an essay on a technology of your choice. So that means out of those 9 topics that you selected and have written about that were due Wednesday at midnight, which would be tonight at midnight at the time I'm making this video, you then will take one of those 9 technologies and you're going to write an essay about them. So like I'm choosing to write the telescope. Now one thing that I had mentioned in one of the prior lessons was that we can't use Wikipedia. And before I make it look like I'm being hypocritical here, I'm not saying that Wikipedia is a bad source. Wikipedia is a very good source. It is not a peer-reviewed source. So what you will want to do is, or this would be my recommendation, is to go into, find your stuff at Wikipedia, get your general idea as to what you're going to do, how you're going to approach it. And then once you do that, once you get some of your bulk information, such as for me, okay, the telescope, the first iteration of the telescope was seen in 1608. That tells me that this is a Renaissance technology, and there's a lot of different directions that I can go into when it comes to researching the telescope. I'm probably going to give, if it were my report, I would probably give a little bit on just the history, the evolution of the telescope to modern day, very briefly, maybe the types of telescopes, and how telescopes have benefited society since their introduction, 400 years ago. But as far as referencing. So once I kind of have my game plan about what the essay needs to be about, then I would look at down here in these references, and I would see, could I use some of these references? And there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them in here. If I couldn't do that, then I would go to some kind of a peer-reviewed source. So maybe the World Book Encyclopedia or the Britannica Encyclopedia, something that is classified as a peer-reviewed source. And then I would find essentially the exact same information, because we want to make sure that the information that's in a peer-reviewed source matches what's on Wikipedia. Once I have all of my information, then it comes into actually creating your essay. This will be in the Google Classroom, similar to the other document, where you click on it, it's going to suggest, or it's going to tell you that you need to make a copy in your drive. You're going to, you're then going to copy it over into your drive, and it's going to look like this. And when you do, you're just going to fill out this information. I've already got the bulk of it set up for you, so that way all of these should look similar. Something that I've already seen is where I have these brackets. So like if you put in your last name, so like for me I would put in Andrews. Get rid of the brackets. Get rid of the brackets. So I would write Andrews. This is my first initial. This is M. The era. This is a, I think I did it again. Renaissance. I believe I spelled that right. This is a Renaissance technology, and the technology that I'm looking for is the telescope. Then I'm just going to continue filling out this information. Part of your grade will be, is your format correct? I know it may seem like that's too specific, but the reality of the matter is, as time moves on, as you take more classes, as you get into the workforce, you will encounter things where just simply how you format it makes things either work or it does not. And so formatting is going to be part of your grade on this. So there's Andrews. I would spell my name, and that is A-E-L, not E-A-L. Notice this technology and engineering design was not in any brackets. I'm going to leave that alone. For block number, when are you in my class? First period, third period, or fourth period. I'm going to put second because if I see second come up on mine, then I'm going to assume that you just copied straight from mine. The day, so at the time that I am working on this project, it is the 26th of August, and so I would just type all of this in, if I can spell August. There we go. And so, but this date here needs to be the date of completion. Honestly, if I were you, I would leave it like this until I finish it, and then I'm ready to submit it, and then I would go back and change it. But that's up to you. Your title needs to be just a copy from from the name of the file, and then you're just going to fill out this information. Your thesis paragraph. This is what draws in the reader. This is your elevator speech. This is, it's just a quick, this is what I am going to be talking about. And then you're going to make your points. Those points somehow need to be incorporated into your thesis statement. Then these points, this is what you're talking about. You need at a bare minimum 2. I really don't see you being able to do this in less than 3. And if you choose to go to 4, choose carefully, because we don't want these running incredibly long. I don't want you to, this assignment is going to be due Friday at midnight. I don't want you to be writing a report where you're spending hours and hours and hours and hours on this when I'm only giving you 2 days. So kind of, focus in on your points. What is it you want to say about the project? I already mentioned mine. I want to talk about how the telescope has evolved over the years. I want to talk about what kinds of telescopes exist, and I want to talk about the impact on telescopes and technology. There's a lot that we understand about what happens on Earth because we've been able to look into what happens on space, and so that would be my big third point. And then finally, your closing paragraph, you sum up everything that you've told the reader. So your thesis statement, this is what I'm going to talk about. Here's me talking, and this is what I told you about. If you have any questions, I will, I'm almost always available by email. Typically, if you email me, unless I'm asleep, you get a response back fairly quickly. If it's during the regular live instruction, obviously I'm in the Google Meet. And if it is outside of that, I may be in the Google Meet, but you can always email me or you can post questions in the classroom. I hope this helps, and I look forward to reading your papers.